going live. And we are live. How are you,
Awesome.
folks? How are you, folks? I've always I do my own production, and I tell people this every week. It's like always like, "Urgh." All right. Uh, well, let's get right to it. How are you, folks? My name's Andre Chumley. This is uh, my show on Make Weird Music, known as the Gear Spotlight. And I see you all here every 2 weeks at 6 p.m. Eastern. And we talk about gear, equipment, production techniques, all kinds of stuff. And I'm really delighted tonight uh, to present my guest. This is a gentleman I just met 5 minutes ago or so, and he is somebody though that's been a hero of mine for a bunch of years. As many of you know, I'm a guitar tech and I'm a tour manager. And a couple of years ago, working with David Torn, I started seeing these pedals. What is this? These incredible, bespoke, beautifully made pedals. And then I started looking around. So we're here tonight with the brains and the inventor and the person behind the wonderful Chase Bliss audio. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet Joel Korte. How are you, Joel?
I'm doing great. I'm gonna do something really weird right now though, and just take a picture of you with my
Please.
phone
Yeah.
and then upload it to Instagram and tell people to join us.
Okay.
I
I'm
guess that's
honored.
not that weird. That's actually kind of normal, isn't it? To
You
promote
know,
one
these
thing.
days it's but I love the punk rock aspect of just do it, like let's improvise. And but yeah, send that out. Um and so those of you tuning in, thank you. I see some people checking in. Um let's see here. Also, let us know folks if the sound is okay for you out there. Had a little bit of a problem last week, but just let me know as long as you can hear us well. Um, so so Joel, let's start with this is where I've been starting with a lot of my guests,
Okay.
because here we are and all this stuff. Give us a little snapshot of what the past 16 months have been like, and obviously you're somebody who works a lot, in a production facility and all that. But tell us the last 16 months, how you've been and how it's been going.
Oh my gosh. Pretty wild time of my life. I guess that's kind of it for everybody. But I mean, I can speak to especially how it like has related to the company. I mean, 16 months ago, geez, I think we had 5 employees. Um, you know, was starting to freak out because some of our dealers were canceling orders, kind of expecting that the pandemic was going to wreak havoc on the music industry. Um, Shortly thereafter that, we started to get tons and tons of orders on our website, and demand just exploded. Um, and ended up hiring like 8 people over the course of that time. And so just has been dealing with this really wonderful, horrible situation, mostly wonderful, where the people really have been interested in Case Bliss pedals. Oh, I should also mention that I stutter. So that was what was happening. Um, and and so I've been trying to make more pedals when it's been really hard because uh, COVID had shut down a lot of manufacturing, and that stuff's all coming back online. But now the huge problem is uh, part shortages. Um, So I guess I mean just talking about that doesn't seem it's not like really like exciting, cool stuff to talk about, but that's sort of I guess just it feels like we've really grown up and had to become more of like a real company or something. And I've just been trying my best to take things one day at a time. and really try to appreciate the positives of all the challenges of this situation. Because for us, I mean, we're so lucky relative to just all the stuff that's happened in the last 16 months. So I'm a happy boy. I I'm very thankful for people caring about what we're trying to do, basically.
That's great. That's thank you. And what a great, concise snapshot of your feelings there. And what I love is I heard in there one of the things I love to hear from people in this is you're seeing the positive. You're making
Oh
lemonade
yeah.
from lemons. You know, you know. So I love to hear that. So continued good luck and busy times for you all. Um, yeah, across the board, I talked to a lot of people in the music industry, and people are staying home. They're learning instruments. I've got some
Mm-hmm.
guitar students. It's so I love that reflects for you. Um, and I wanted to say actually a quick thank you. We've got some people clicking in and saying hello, hello everyone. And let me give a shout out. I see him in the chat, and it's the reason I got to meet you. My dear friend Rodney Easter is here. Who's one of your new employees over the past little while. And
Yeah, it's so funny because I think of Rodney. I was like, yeah, he's kind of a new employee, but he's I think what was it? I think if it might be like today is his year anniversary or something, or I saw some
wow.
post came up. So Rodney's not really a new employee anymore.
Right, right. Okay. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Rodney. And Rodney, yeah, great guy, great musician, and we miss him here in Asheville. But one of the things is that I'm going to ask you about is your tie-in to other great companies. You used to work at ZVEX, and of
Hmm.
course, Rodney used to work at Moog. So you got some real high quality, which we can see if you look at the bios on your website, which I encourage people. By the way, folks, links are in the chat, chaseplusaudio.com. Very easy to remember. And their Instagram is pretty much the same thing, Chase Plus Audio.
Speaking of the bios, though, that's another thing where it's like we get. I think we have like 4 or 5 people on the website, and we have uh just hired someone else yesterday, so we have 14 now. So I got to get that right. And we got to get Rodney's bio up there too.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry, just it's a reminder. There's so much stuff to do.
the, I, it looks like it. Um, well, let me back up for a little bit and say, I know I've seen an interview or two of you over the years, and I love the website. So much info on there. And you started playing guitar at age 15, and you know uh, we can talk about some bio stuff after that. But give me an idea. I always look for the spark of inspiration. How old were you when playing guitar? When you kind of plugged into a pedal or something and said, "Oh man, this is it. I want guitars to sound different and to have a what is there a moment there where you kind of
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a couple moments, but I mean, I think my journey was a little different uh, than a lot of people's, just because I had a friend. His name's Kyle. When I got into playing guitar, and he was way into the Pro Tools, like early on. So yeah, when I was 15, it was like the end of like 1999. Yeah. Um, and it was when, home studios had just started to become like ubiquitous. And so my friend had a Pro Tools set up and was recording his songs and stuff. And it just blew my mind because I had just started, and I was like, that is definitely something that seems interesting to me, because you could, of course, record multiple tracks and experiment and do all this stuff. So I got a cheap little sound card, and my DAW was Cubase, and I just got kind of obsessed with that, like a lot of people around that time. And really, so it was really like experimenting with plugins that where I started really learning about effects and what they do. And just then after that started to get a bit more into hardware, but it was more like recording equipment. Like I would buy, some cheap compressor and just get. And that's when I started to kind of, the wheel started to turn. I was like, well, who makes this hardware? This seems fascinating. I think that would be something I'd like to learn how to do. And then it wasn't until after that where I started playing out and seeing um, pedal boards and getting just asking a bunch of questions about what does that do, what's that brand, and then I found out that Zvex was right in my backyard, and just kind of harassed Zach Vex until he gave me a job.
That's awesome. No, well, that's great. You've answered like my next two or three questions on my list. So thank you. This is great. Because I was going to say, wow, I've heard that you started with Pro Tools, and I remember hearing that and going, wow, I feel old. Someone who starts with Pro Tools. I started with reel to reel, but
Yeah, well, yeah. I shouldn't say I've never really actually gotten into Pro Tools. It was my friend that had it, and
okay, sure.
yeah.
But yeah,
Um.
but just to put
Anyway,
it in timeline there, that's awesome.
yeah.
So ZVEX for a little while, and yeah, we love Zachary Vex, and that's one of the funny things too. I feel this great connection to you in terms of being gear fanatics because I was uh, working with Adrian Belew, and he has the instant lo-fi junkie, and I think he's got an Inventobox. So tell us a little bit
Oh,
about tell us a little bit about
oh man.
that
Okay.
moment, yeah, that time
So
with ZVEX, yeah.
yeah, so I worked at Zvex from 2008 to 2013, and a bit of contract work after that, kind of like overlapping when I started Chase Bliss. And so I started there in like the fall of 2008, and actually the first project we did, I had no idea how lucky I was. Um, because it was actually Zach who introduced me to My Bloody Valentine. And I think that's
Oh yeah.
probably his favorite band, or if it's not his favorite, Led Zeppelin might be like his favorite band, but like he's a huge My Bloody Valentine fan, and he was in contact with Kevin Shields, and Kevin wanted this device. I think I don't know if he named it or we did, but it was called the communicator, and you would plug in. I'm not sure if I ever told this story on a podcast or thing before, so it's kind of fun. It was um, this little enclosure that would connect with XLR, and there was one for Kevin on stage and one for the monitor mixer, where he could just request more like up vocals or down vocals or up guitar in his monitor mix. Or I said, I'm sure he didn't have in ears at that time, but um, so it was a nifty idea, and we made some prototypes for him that he used, and oh, the other thing I forgot to mention was so like let's say Kevin wanted more vocals in his mix, you would press a button for more vocals. It had like I think 8 switches on it or something. Like you could
Okay.
pick, vocals, guitar, something else, and then ask if you wanted more or less. And then the monitor mixer would. Oh, my wife's trying to distract me. She's being funny. Anyway, um, uh, and then the mixer person would press the button on their device that would say, okay, I service this request. And then if Kevin wanted more, he would, press the button again. But I, that was like the first thing I worked on. And it was super fun, gave me a lot of confidence because I was, well, still unsure of my abilities, to be honest. But so we did that. And then I helped uh, I wasn't really involved with the design, but like help with the Mastotron and the Distortron. Those came out at that time. And then it was like right after that, he wanted to do the Inventobox, which for me was such a great um, kind of first project to like really learn how stuff works as far
Sure.
as like I hadn't really designed circuit boards, and so it it was a hard thing to design as far as like 3D space and stuff like that is concerned, because a lot of stuff had to fit really weirdly in there.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was such a critical, important project for me to um, learn this industry. It did not do well at all. I think that Zach still has some left from the first run.
Sure.
So, but it's a cool pedal, and I'm so thankful for it because it was it was so good for me, you know.
That's awesome. Well, no, that thank you for having we got a world premiere story out of that. But I didn't know that about Kevin, and that makes sense. I mean, I love Bloody Valentine. Didn't know that about Zachary too. Um, and so there it is, folks. We got a little picture of it up there, and it is a lot crammed into things. That's interesting to hear that it didn't sell. I remember when it came out, and I'm a weirdo, so that's why I'm a part of Make Weird Music. But I thought, oh my God, this is great. What an idea. I don't have one. Maybe I've got to track one down, but I just thought, what a great idea. I'm also a big modular guy, so my brain
Okay.
is, I'm very into this clashing of those two concepts. So I kind of thought, oh, this is going to really, well, let's maybe it'll come back to live another day. But
Yeah, I think what was tricky about it for people is that you kind of had to know some things to be able to use it. And so those people were probably already going the DIY route where they're really, trying to make their own stuff, save some money. And then, there just wasn't enough people, I think, that were sort of in that range of wanting to experiment, but still have some electronics knowledge and just not just make that extra step to just totally doing the DIY thing.
yeah,
But I
no,
actually love it as like yeah, I used it a lot of years as like a tool um, for designing.
yeah, I can imagine. Right, because you could just kind of have some thought exercises,
Hmm.
pop it in and see. That's a great idea. No, so okay. No, it's funny because there is this strange conservatism though with some guitarists. I mean, fortunately, there's a ton of people who love weird guitar and are going down these roads, uh, following people like we've spoken about, Adrian Belew, David Torn, Nels Klein, Sonny Chirac. We know the whole list. I'm very happy that all those people, Elliot Sharp, you name it, Henry Kaiser, are inspiring a bunch of young people. But as we both know, there's a lot of people where Fender Strat, Fender Twin, maybe a distortion pedal. Everything else is too weird for them. So okay. Um, so tell me a little bit about we're going to talk now in specifically about some of your pedals and especially the new one, the new reverb unit and the preamp unit. But let's really quickly go through some other stuff. I know, of course, Chase Bliss is about 8 years old, right? Is that when you started 2013?
Yeah, to do that 2013. Yeah.
Okay,
Gosh,
but
it seems
2013.
like an eternity, and also like I can't really remember doing anything else with my life. So
That's
yeah.
yeah. Well, I love your story, and for some people, there's some stuff on the website, and of course, my love and condolences to you for what you've gone through and the loss of your brother. Thank you for sharing that so openly with people. For people who don't know, Chase was Joel's brother, and he was tragically killed in a drunk driving. But tell us a bit about that because I know the name is attributed to him and the whole "Follow Your Bliss," Joseph Campbell stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I look back and like how easily I'm really thankful for my life. I never, every year I go back, I think about how things have happened and why or how or whatever. And it just still doesn't really, I just feel very lucky, and even despite everything, but, but I was living a very, I guess just forgettable uh, life. I had that moment when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to study, where I was interested in, audio hardware and audio products and stuff. But once I was in college and I graduated in 2007. My brother died in 2007, and it was a few months before I could graduate. And actually, I either had just accepted a job or was on the verge of accepting, this sort of just standard corporate engineering job, which I definitely, it's easy to tell people. I'm going to go down a little rabbit hole here. It's easy to tell people, like, oh, stupid corporate jobs, like do what you love and this and that. But I actually think that time, because I worked there for a little over a year, was was as important as any other professional experience in my life, because I realized how much I deeply hated working at a corporate environment like that. And so that stuck with me. It's incredibly motivating to know that, like, if I fail, well, I have an infinite amount of options, but that that isn't something that I want to go to. So I was doing that. I graduated and started working at this job, and it was exactly the opposite of the life that my brother was living, because he was into Joseph Campbell. He's into this idea of to follow your bliss, and he was out in California pursuing an acting career and really just working his tail off to make it happen. And so, something like that happens where, and it was just totally random and crazy. Like he was working on this project, and he um, met with the director in Arizona, and was on his way back to LA, and just this drunk guy driving super super fast just ran into him, like, just like, there's, and again, I kind of going into detail here, and I usually don't, but like there was cars that, like, the drunk driver passed and were like inches away from hitting them, that like called the police and were like freaking out. So, again, it's not like, oh, like the driver, I guess what I'm saying is, like, could have hit anyone, and just somehow hit my brother. And that just really, after a period of like intense grieving and sadness, made me really examine my life, and I could see that where my life was headed if I just continued with what was happening. And so that's when I started my harassment of Zachary Vex
Right.
to try to work there.
That
Um,
that was it. Yeah. No, no, wow.
yeah. Well, I was like, you just realize how fragile life is and how short it is, and how, I mean, I still think about that all the time. Like, man, I could die tomorrow. Am I really doing what I can be, for the people that I love, for myself, for the world, for am I living a life that I think is good, you know?
Wow. No, that thank you for sharing that. And that's it, bro. I mean, you really hit so many beautiful points. It's that giving thanks. It's that slow down and take a deep breath. I have a good friend, and whenever we pick up the phone and talk to each other, hey, how are you, man? I woke up today. You giving thanks, and I'm not really religious or anything, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, man, it's fragile. You used a great word there. It's fragile. So I love that, and I love that you've poured so much positive energy into to celebrating your brother like this. It's a beautiful story. Um, One of the other beautiful things that I commend you for is the 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 care of the devices, and we're going to look in a minute again on some of the newer devices. Everything's so well made, so beautifully made, and to that point, you've chosen. And it's a difficult choice in today's world, and I applaud you and I salute you incredibly. Your stuff's made in the USA, and you have this great ethos with your employees and this real positive thing. Give me a little bit of your and the let's be frank, the boxes are a bit more expensive. Not really though. We're in this boutique world the last few years. I see some stuff, bro, that's same price as yours, and you're like, this isn't that good, or so it's a bit more, but I don't care because we know that you're paying someone in the USA, all those issues that are involved. Give me a feeling of the feedback you've had over these 8 years that you're one of those companies that does it in America.
Well, I think that actually I got this advice from I think it was Steve Bragg from Impress relatively early on, where he's like, if you make a good thing, like people will pay for it. And I know it's we talk about this at our company now too. One thing that we're thinking about, or is just how it is hard for a lot of people to get our products, which is not the funnest thing, um, but I think that um, there's just so much stuff, and like I see it now with like my kids, where the toys are just garbage. They just break, or they're not built to last. And I'm thinking, man, I would pay quite a bit more for something if I knew it was going to last, forever, or at least the intent was that it was going to last for like a really, really long time. And if it breaks, you can send it to the company and they'll fix it. Um, and so that was always, well, I shouldn't say always. When I first started, I thought that like boutique pedals were horribly overpriced and I was going to be different. But then, once you actually figure out how to make stuff, it's like, oh, yeah, I guess I do have to charge this much if I want to like have a business with employees and treat them right and all that stuff. Um, I don't know. Uh, I try to do what I feel is right. And, I'm always, uh, you know, that always changes a bit. You're always sort of like reevaluating things. Like what could I do better? What's practical, and that I'm able to that I'm able to do and still keep the company like thriving and healthy and everything. But I think it does all come back to just wanting to make a quality thing. And now, since we've been in business 8 years, there's a lot of evidence to support that there is a market for these types of things. Because I've been told a lot of times by a lot of really smart people that like some of my ideas just aren't going to work, or there's not a market for it. And like people that care, they're not trying to like put me down or talk me out of something, but um, at the end of the day, you got to trust yourself. I mean, you got to take advice from people that you care about and love, and that you trust, but you really got to trust yourself.
That's it. Yeah. No, and it fits in with the follow your bliss. Yeah, that's wow. That's great to hear. And you're right, and I have that too, man. I will pay more. I'll pay more for organic food, for local
Mm-hmm.
food, for
Mm-hmm.
something made in the U.S. Now, if I can't get it, and I'm sure you're the same. I'll assume that if you can't get it, you can't get it. You buy the one
Yeah.
from. But I will look for that, and I love what you said about the toys, because even when I was a kid, I remember being very young and noticing like this broke right away. Like I don't know how but that's great, and I love that people are supporting that. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. Um, and 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 I love that there's a little bit of a trend there. You've got Moog and some of their components. Probably for everyone, come from around the world, but it's made
Yeah.
here. Yeah, it's made here. The labor is here, and some of the components are here. Make Noise, our dear friends. There's a lot of great companies now saying, you know what, we can charge for something that makes a difference. So that's awesome. Well, let's take a look at a couple specific pedals and items. And I love the. I'm a very analog guy. I mean, I'm a digital guy also, but I just happen to be
Me too.
sitting.
I mean, that's my wheelhouse. But now, we've branched out, and basically, you know, when I started out, it was digital brain, analog heart. I guess that's still technically our tagline, but at some point I was like, I don't want to limit myself, you know. Let's put everything on the table, you know.
I love it. Yes, they're just all tools, right? And but it makes it, lets people know. And but yeah, just because it's funny, I have a couple cassettes right here, and I do use cassettes. I've got, but some of you young folks might not have ever seen one of these. And look at that, it's unopened. They still sell them in Japan. But one of the things that I love is these recent new. We can start there actually. The recent devices that look like they're from 1978, the reverb and the preamp. So we're going to take a look at that, and I wanted to ask you, just beautiful. And look at this, folks. These are the CXM 1978 and the preamp Mark II. And when you read about these, I've only heard some demos, and wow, this sounds incredible. Talk to us a little about that, because for engineers, for that whole tape op crowd, and for people who really want amazing sound, talk to us about what got you here to this one.
Yeah, so for this, it was it was really it started with kind of my own uh I wanted to make a thing for me kind of. Um
Mm.
well, okay, where should I start? I think, you know, everyone's had that experience. Well, not everyone, but people that have been into like really expensive um, uh, um, sorry, just 1 second. Sorry, just had to
It's all good,
try
all
to
good.
cut down on the extraneous noise. Um, okay, so yeah, so you know, a lot of people that have been into, you know, a nice recording studio, they'll see the consoles with, you know, the faders that are moving around, and they think, or at least I thought, I'm sure other people have thought, wow, that would be cool if those motorized faders were on a guitar pedal. That would be kind of cool. And so I kept kind of waiting for that to happen, and then it just never did. And then I thought, well, I think I could do this. And I mean, the other experience I was having is like, you know, I use my pedals obviously in my live rig, and I would sometimes forget my presets, and it frustrated me a little bit. And I just thought about, okay, let's just like wipe the slate clean. Let's just blank canvas. If I could design a new platform that would, you know, live in harmony with our existing platform, that's, you know, I call it like our classic line or whatever. Um, and I could make it so it had presets. Could be analog, could be digital, could be whatever. And as soon as a preset was recalled, you knew everything instantly about that particular setting. Um, and and so I thought about motorized pots. I did a bunch of experiments with those, and I landed on the faders. Uh, I and then I found these really cool buttons that had these LEDs on them, where you could, you know, push the button essentially and change the color of the LED. And then so all that information, I mean, yeah, and this was kind of the mission statement. All that information just comes at you instantly, and it's pretty easy to digest. There's obviously quite a lot of information in terms of like the slider locations and what settings you have with the buttons, but there's no menu diving. There's no anything like that that would sort of interfere or cause some kind of barrier for you to know exactly what, you know, the settings are. And plus, you know, there's probably someone in the chat right now or someone thinking like, well, why don't you just use LEDs or something? But I just think that the movement is inspiring and cool, and I wanted to make something that looked kind of retro, like you were talking about, but also look modern. And so I just kept thinking about all that stuff and landed on this platform where it's really fun because I find it when I have some constraints as far as like uh, designing a product with 6 sliders and 5 knobs and 2-foot switches, that it's incredibly inspiring to have those constraints because you're just able to make things work within a system. And I really like that. I like it sometimes when when things aren't like totally limitless, because I can find that I get a little option paralysis or something, which might sound weird with the pedals I make, but um yeah, I just had a dream, like what would be my dream platform, and then I just started working on it.
That's fantastic. And again, I just there's so many great pull quotes tonight because that option issue. I used to call it option anxiety. I didn't make that up, of course, but totally know what you mean. And it's one of those things. As you know, I'm a guitar tech, so I'm always talking to artists and making decisions with them and researching new gear. And this is always an issue. This line of how incredibly flexible these modern tools are, hardware, software, and yet there you are diving through a menu. It's the middle of the night. You forgot to load this to a song. The audience is, it's a nightmare. And then you throw the thing away because you're like, and I love that you addressed that and that you thought it through to this intuitive, beautiful area. It's funny. We were mentioned before David Torn, and again, who I thank for so many things, but I thank for introducing me to your warped vinyl and a couple other pedals, the blooper. And he was excited like a little kid. And this is a man with thousands of pedals, but what I remember him saying was how direct it is. I mean, he said, Dre, there's all this stuff on here, but you just get right to it, you know,
Mhm.
and that's a powerful thing because you know. We're performing. We can't be thinking about menus. So you've really nailed it with these. Um, wow, and the moving
Thank you. Yeah, I
faders.
want to
Yeah,
say something real quick. Sorry to
please,
interrupt you about
please.
David, just because he's such a special and amazing person. He is always interested in new stuff, and I find it incredibly inspiring because he's never like he has a stuff that he uses a lot and that works for him, but he's always interested in new technology, new products, to see how it can challenge him, how it can inspire him. And he was one of, and imagine me, when I first released Warp Vinyl, I was trying to get anyone interested in it. And David Torn was like one of the first people that bought, like, I think his serial number is like under the first like 50 or something. And so, imagine me, how exciting that would be for me. And um we've stayed friends, and I actually have several things I need to talk to him about that I want to work on with him. He might know some of it because we have some mutual friends, but yeah, I just love that guy. And it's not just because I love his music. He's just wonderful.
Yeah, you said it. You said it. So yeah, that's great. That's an exciting nugget for some audio fans. Some kind of collaboration with you with David's input. It sounds amazing. But one more thing I'll say about David, because we could just talk about him for 2 hours, right? And
David
go through
Tornauer.
his albums. But one of the things I will say that a lot of scholars tune in, a lot of people that study the history. So I'm very honored because I'm a history freak. But I want to direct some people, go look in a 1985 or 6 cover issue, a cover story on David Torn, Electronic Musician magazine. And the reason I'll direct you to that is because I learned so much from that at 21. It's exactly what Joel just said, that problem of control. And in that cover story, David has this incredible system, lexicon, rack mounts, and pedals, and expression pedals, and control voltage and stereo amps. But at the heart of it, he had figured out a way to control all the MIDI changes on his looping stuff, his lexicon, with a simple uh, slider rack, you know. So
Oh,
he had, yeah. So he had solved that problem we have as guitarists, because and I saw him live around then, and he would just reach over and just move a slider, which we've, you know, and it's amazing to me. Here we are. It took 35 years for you know, so you nailed it, because guitarists, keyboard players, violinists, whatever, if you don't, you can't be fooling around with thinking about all this crap. But you can remember that the second slider is going to increase the, you
yeah.
know, the delay time or something. So David, though, has this amazing system in 1986, which of course he's done 100 varieties of that over the years. But go look that up, folks, and you guitar equipment freaks, I promise you, you look at his schematic in 1986 and you will learn some shit that you can use right now.
Yeah, and that's what's so fun about talking with him too, or just it's incredibly humbling actually, not in the way that people use the word humbling these days, but like you'll think you have a cool idea and like maybe you do, but then David will explain to you that it already exists in this thing that came out in 1988, you know?
It so true, so true.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Well, and let's segue there to another aspect. That's another technology that I love that you fold into this. And it's MIDI, because he was using MIDI at that point. A lot of people still just blow it off. And
Hmm.
it's funny, that same issue, if people go look for this, the great David Rosenthal's in that issue. And if people look him up, he is one of the masters of MIDI, as David is. And to this day, I mean, he works for, he plays for Billy Joel. And but I love that you've embraced MIDI, and I'm a big MIDI guy, and I love that you've got this little MIDI box, and then you've got the CV control. Talk to us a little about how that is received out there. Are people picking up how powerful that is? All the MIDI that's in all your devices.
I think that it has been a great contributor to our success because in some cases we would be the only people that would make, and some of them are discontinued now because they don't sell that well, which kind of speaks to your point.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
you know, we'd be the only person that make like a MIDI controller analog phaser, which probably isn't true anymore. Actually, I think Impress was the first. We weren't even the first, but like there was just not a lot of people that were doing digital controlled analog, and there still really isn't. Um, and I would love to take credit, like pretend like I know I saw this coming. But if I'm honest, when I made Warp Vinyl, I knew how to do MIDI a little bit from working on the Super Seekers at ZVEX. And
Mm.
so I I knew that I wanted that to be an option, but I didn't when I first released Warp Vinyl, like all it could do was like sync to beat clock. It couldn't even like you couldn't even uh recall presets. It was like ridiculous. I had not like really thought it through. And then I became friends with Matthew Farrow at Disaster Area. And he was like, dude, like you should at least like add some more functionality here. And I was like, well, what do I do? He's like, well, for presets, you should use program changes. And I'm like, what's a program change? I didn't know anything. And he walked me through it, and he's like, this is how you should set it up. And then made sure everything worked with his MIDI controllers. Actually, I'm wearing a Disaster Area shirt at the moment.
Oh,
Um,
North Carolina in the house.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so Matthew has been uh, he just he kind of was like my MIDI guru, and really encouraged me to do more stuff with it, and I'm really, really thankful for that.
That
Because I've just, yeah, it's so simple in a way. It's just a way for things to talk to each other.
Thank you, thank you, and that cuts right to the chase. And again, in my career, You run into so many people that don't understand that about MIDI. They think it's going to change the sound of your tone or something. No, it's a language, so you can. So I love it because your pedals. It's difficult to use the word future proof, but your pedals. What I love is they're backwards compatible. If you've got a Jupiter synth from the 80s and you send out a certain MIDI command, you can get that to do something in a
Hmm.
blooper or in a. I love that. And I would assume, I can't predict the future, but 8 years from now, when it's Ableton 22, you can send a MIDI signal into one of your boxes. So that's awesome. I know we're running short on time. Thank you so much, Joel. I know
Yeah, it's
you're
crazy.
so
I
busy.
thought that I know I wasn't expecting the time to go this quick. I can tell you and I could talk for hang out for just
I,
hours upon hours.
no, I look forward to chatting with you again sometime and hopefully in person. But as we wrap up, let me make sure I catch some of the people on YouTube. Thank you so much, folks. We got a lot of people watching. And this, of course, video will stay up here. As I've been saying to people, we leave it up at Make Weird Music forever, either until the aliens attack or there's an EMP pulse to knock it all out. But it'll be here otherwise. So, discrete circuitry, whoever that is, thank you. Discrete circuitry has been saying some great things, uh, starting with that the Inventobox was such a great idea. Yes, it was and is, and hopefully it pops up again. Sharon, thank you for putting some great links up there. Again, folks, please follow up here. Learn about Chase Bliss. Go to their YouTube. A lot of great videos done in high quality there. Go to their website. Support a company that's making stuff in America, folks. I mean, we can't say it enough. It's we can go on and on about political rhetoric and changing the societal system and blah blah blah. That's one of the first things you can do, folks. There's other things. People know I do a show on food. Every week I'm talking about go to the farm market. That's it. You've done something. You put money in someone's pocket near you. You support Chase Bliss or any of these other companies, same thing. You're helping somebody who's made the choice to really share the wealth and to pay Americans properly and to keep things here. So I love that, and I can't applaud that enough. So follow up on their website. Let's see who else. So Discreet is asking a question, two questions that I'll give real quick. Someone, not Tyler, is asking if there's any hints, any updates we can get on sneak peek on the next automaton, and then Discreet Circuitry is also asking how you've been doing on catching up on back orders while you're building limited edition batches and everything. You touched on that a little bit, but
Yeah.
compound question there. Can you tell us? Yeah.
We are working on a new automaton product right now. It's quite, I mean, they're all complicated. It's definitely it's a beast. Um, Multiple collaborators. I think people are going to really like it. I'm very excited about it. I don't know when it's going to come out. Probably not for at least a year, but we're making some good progress. We're also working on like three other things in various stages of development. That It's really cool because this has been the longest gap I think in since we started the company where we haven't released something, but we're actually in a position now where we don't like have to necessarily, which is new and great because it allows us it's far less stressful for one. But but yeah, we're working on a lot of stuff, but we don't have I'm not sure when they're going to come out. Um, Part of that is the back order situation because it's like because we're filling orders from so long ago, from such a long time ago in certain cases, like it's like we really need to wrap our arms around that before we, make a bunch of a new thing. Otherwise, it's just gonna make everything more challenging. That said, it's not like we have something that we're finished with right now, or that we're just like sitting on. I probably wouldn't have the patience to do that if that was the case. But yeah, I would say it's improving. The our manufacturing partner, the one that does, because we don't have like the machines to put on, like the surface mount, components on and stuff like that, is in California,
Mm.
specifically Los Angeles, and they were of course hit super hard with COVID, and lots of shutdowns and stuff. But they've been really picking it up, and we've been really working together. Like, I hired a bunch of people, and then they hired some people too, and so we've been able. I think lead times and ability to get our products. I'm very hopeful in the next 6 months are going to be way better. I hope I'm right. I think I'm right.
We have to. I don't say it much, but we have to manifest that positivity. Yeah, no, we gotta. No, no, that's great. And so we got okay. A little bit of just keep your eyes on the websites and the social media of Chase Bliss, folks. Sounds like um, Not Tyler says, recently turned on the stereo on the CXM 78 and I blew my head off. That's great. That should be a t-shirt thing. No, the stereo sounds amazing on that just in demos. So Philip B, thank you. Philip says, my hair looks freaking mind-blowing tonight. Well, thank you. I didn't do much. It's my Corona fro. So I actually looked it up and somebody already got coronafro.com. So much for that.
I do have to say on the CXM, as much as I would love to take all the credit on that pedal, it is a collaboration with Maris, and they're, I think, one of the top guitar pedal companies. And I mean, you could even say they're a pro audio company, but that was super fun collaborating with them, and they have some minds over there. And Angelo, he's the algorithm designer, is has a storied career, and I think is one of the best designers on the planet. And so it was just kind of a dream come true working with him, and that's why that reverb sounds so good, because of Maris.
No, that's a great shout out and another great company. And I don't have one, but I love bit crushers. So that
Oh yeah.
auto bit. Oh my God. No, you raised a great point. And I had Tony Rolando from Make Noise Music on a few weeks ago, and it very similar ethos that you have. Do you know Make Noise or
Oh
Tony?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go. Because you kindred spirits with the Made in America and all that, and also in kind of sharing the brain trust. He does a lot with Tom Erb and some other people. So that's beautiful to hear. Um, let's see if there's just any more questions, folks. Yeah, we're about to wrap here, but thank you so much, folks. Just lots of love. If there's one more question, then we're good. Blooper and inform. Oh, okay. Someone asked about the tomatone. We just covered that. Okay, great. Okay, great. Well, the last question we have is a cool one because it segues with what I'm about to put on the screen. Um, and I wanted to one other side question. Were you familiar with any, or are you, Frank Zappa's rigs in the mid '70s? You ever check that out?
I'm not super familiar. I've like a little bit of awareness, but not like
Okay,
the nuts and bolts. Yeah.
we'll follow up on that on some emails. I'm a
Okay.
Zappa fanatic. I have a Zappa
Okay.
tribute band actually. But one of the
Oh,
things about
awesome.
Zappa, yeah, yeah, one of and I've not just a tribute band. I've toured and performed with about 15 of his alumni, all his
Wow.
singers and stuff, percussion players. But one of the things you'd be interested to know, Frank Zappa, before anybody, he had a lot of synthesizers, all of them, ARPs, Moogs, EMLs, right? In like 72, 3, 4, 5. So he really understood control voltage. And this is in 73, 75. Think about
That's
that.
wild. Yeah.
Who knew? Even people with synths were barely hooking them up. So Frank was using effects and all the early rack mount stuff, and he said, wait a minute. If we have control voltage over here in this Moog, and can't I use that? And he got custom pedals made, and he had a pedal board with about 5 expression pedals that sent CV.
So ahead of his time.
Yes, and it sent CV into phasers, flangers, delay units.
Wow.
So you hear that Frank Zappa, those solos starting around 77, nothing sounds like it because he's
Yeah.
varying modulation depth and
Hmm.
and and blends
As an expressive quality.
with CV while he's playing, and so
Yeah.
literally impossible. But I think that resonates with you.
Oh yeah.
You're
And
you're doing it.
I'm excited to check that out. For some reason, I've really I find myself late at night, often watching Frank Zappa interviews, whatever I can find, because
Nice.
I mean, it's not just the music that's incredible. It's like that guy, some of the stuff he says just resonates in a way that, and the way he says it too, it's just life changing, to be honest.
True. Brilliant. Brilliant. So that's I applaud you on that too, because no one has kind of really drilled down to so much that you can do in the guitar world with CV. Of course, there's some MIDI stuff, but that people usually use that to just go from program 3 to program 9.
Hmm.
So that's a whole area that maybe we'll do a follow-up interview and we'll
I'd
just
love
talk about
that.
CV. So let's close on this one point, and because someone's asking, uh, are there any new blooper modifiers in the works? And I wanted to end with the blooper and say, in the world of looping, which I love, and I'm a big looper, I probably own 10 different ones. So a two-part question to close with: when did you get into looping? Because your looper pedal takes stuff from, oh my God, all the things that we want in loopers. So answer that for me and tell me if there's
Mhm.
any updates or a bit crusher modifier is what Me Take Photo is asking. So that's our last
So
question.
the modifiers are a little tricky at this point because we've really maxed out what the processor is capable of. I don't want to say like never say
Mm.
ever, but the last update we did, I forget how long ago it was, but was like a huge one that like took forever to get right. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure about more modifiers. But I really do feel like it's totally complete now. Again, this is another thing. It's like I'd love to take all the credit for this, but this is my friend Knobs's concept.
Hmm.
He's a popular YouTuber that I've gotten to be really good friends with. His name's Scott Harper, and he uh, this was his idea, and yeah, I think at some point, it's like as the company, probably in the last 3 or 4 years, where I just got obsessed with collaborating
Hmm.
because I reckon, I have some things to bring to the table, but I've met so many people that are so much better at stuff than I am that I want to work with them and like make the best thing possible. That if I was alone, I would have no chance and no capability of doing that. So right now, it's like I'm all about working with friends, working with people that I really think um, are brilliant, and Scott's one of them. And he was the mastermind behind the concept. And then also got to give a shout out from to Mark Seal from 3 Degrees Audio, our other collaborator on that project.
Hmm. Okay.
He's the DSP ninja on that device, and
That's
still
awesome.
is. Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. And it's so beautiful and kind that you explain that you're a team player and Cooper Effects. I know he worked with you on some stuff, but you know what? Mad props to you. You're the team leader. You're the captain of this team. So
Trying.
you're the one pushing that envelope. So let's. We love that you'll keep doing that. I,
Thank you.
I know we're out of town. I'm going to say, besides thank you, Levon says Chase Bliss and Pittsburgh Modular should collaborate. I like
Okay.
that. That's
Okay.
another incredible Made in America company.
The seed
And
has been planted.
the season planet. And then this is an oddball question, but hey, Ben Berg is saying, hey, weird question, but are you guys hiring at Chase Bliss? Is there?
Not really.
Okay, there you
It's
go.
uh like I just said, we just hired someone like a few days ago, but we're feel like we're still trying to figure out how to be the most efficient with the team that we have. But if you're
There you go.
interested, always send me an email, joel@chaseplusaudio.com. Send me your resume. Get yourself on my radar, because usually if you have an opening, uh, it doesn't really get posted because there's people like this individual that might be interested. And then I already know about them, and then I can reach out when the time comes.
But there we go. Ben, I think it was Ben. There you go,
Okay.
Ben. Send an email.
Joel
Uh,
at
uh,
chaseplusaudio.com. Yeah.
there we go. Uh, Joel, thank you so much, man. I know you
Thank
got to
you.
go. I just beautiful, and thank Rodney, who's just such a beautiful human being, and a great tinkerer. And I can't wait to see where things go with him. Wow, a year already.
I know. It's crazy.
So all right. Well, I'm gonna hang up on the. You can jump off if you have to jump right off if you're against the
Okay.
clock. Just go ahead, and I'll keep going and tell the
My
folks.
wife's looking at me and pointing at her watch. So.
What the what's all right? Awesome. Yeah, just hang up and I'll wrap with the folks.
All
Ladies
right,
and gentlemen,
thanks.
Joel Korte,
Thanks,
Chase
thanks so
Korte.
much, Andre. Really appreciate you being interested and having me on.
We'll talk soon, bro. Thank you. Thank you, folks. Wow, what a great gentleman, and just super creative. What a what a thinker. What a you know, and I love the Venn diagram of kind of his spiritual outlook and the dedication to his brother's memory, and so much there. And I'll tell you, folks, I'm not. Well, he wouldn't have been on here unless the pedals didn't kick my ass when I've used them and checked them out. Really unique stuff. And for those of you production people, musicians of any type, looking for some unique instruments, do check them out, because there's something a little more special about all of them. The sound quality, the build quality. So there we go. Thank you so much, folks, for being here. I'm just gonna close by saying, I always forget to say this. You can find me and all the other musical stuff I do at Guitar Tour. I'm there on Instagram and Twitter, and actually on Twitch/Guitar Tour. But you can find me there, and please do drop me a line, stay in touch. I'm starting to solicit suggestions, because people write me directly sometimes and say, how about this person? How about that? Sure. Send me a DM on somebody you'd like me to chase down. I'm here on Make Weird Music. Please subscribe. Please like. Please follow up with us. Coming up, and I'm kind of doing a few of the amazing gear production people in the last couple weeks. Had Tony Rolando from Make Noise a few weeks ago. Chase Bliss tonight. 2 weeks from tonight. I'm sorry. No, it's in about a month. Wednesday, September 8th. Mark this down. Robert Keeley from Keeley Pedals. Wow, another revolutionary thinker. Wednesday, September 8th. Robert Keeley. The next show that I have, though, is a week from this Friday. My other show, Confronting Creativity, where we talk to artists, composers, producers about the creative spirit and some of the more spiritual stuff and some of the production stuff. But Friday, August 13th, really looking forward to a guest, Todd Reynolds, who's a violinist, a composer, somebody that's doing live streams right now, doing master classes on live streaming and on looping and Ableton, all kinds of things. This man is a Renaissance man. He's a dear friend of mine, and he. It's amazing how much he gets done in a week as I watch him. This is a man who has played and recorded and toured with the likes of Morton Subotnick and Meredith Monk and Steve Reich, Joe Jackson, Todd Rundgren, the ensemble Ethos, the quartet from New York. And that's the short list, okay? Besides a bunch of great records on his own. So we're going to talk to him on Friday, August 13th. He's an electronic musician, an electronic violinist. And then we've got coming up a bunch more. We've got Pamelia Kirsten, who is a thereminist. We're going to have her in a couple of weeks as well. We're just nailing the date down. It's one of two dates. But a lot of fun stuff for the rest of the summer. Thank you for being a part of this, and we'll see you next time. Keep making weird music.